Okay, well at this point it feels like it's safe to say the Eagles offense is feeling pretty good after another day at camp where they dominated, which is great, but Kellen Moore's confident they're just getting started. So what is it that's really helping them stand out, and how about the plays made from AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith? Meanwhile, there's a couple unexpected guys who are making a name for themselves. Plus, even with the offense firing on all cylinders, why shouldn't you be concerned about the defense? Let's talk about that, what James Bradberry said about the position change, and an interesting fill-in at right guard. But first, let's run it. What's up guys, do me a favor and hit that like button because if we can get this video to 2,000 likes, I'm going to give away another jersey of your choice. Or heck, if we can get to 3,000 likes, I'll make it a random drawing for game tickets to any regular season matchup for one lucky subscriber via the randomized spinner on a future live stream. Just, make sure to hit that sub button and obviously drop a like. Because after all, our future's only looking that much better seeing the recent quarterback deals get done. With Miami's Tua Tagovailoa signing a record 4-year deal worth $212.4 million. By the way, for those counting, that's an average of $53.1 million per year. And sure, no doubt Tua has been solid with a top 5 passer rating last year, top 5 completion percentage, and the most passing yards in the NFL. However, he's also got 0 playoff wins and doesn't necessarily seem to play his best ball against the upper echelon teams. So I don't know if I would have paid him all that money. Yet at the same time, he did beat Dallas last year, so maybe he does deserve that money.
You deserve it.
I'm still not really sure, but it does seem to be a prerequisite for getting a deal recently, since not even a day after Tua got his contract, the Green Bay Packers inked Jordan Love to a 4-year deal worth $220 million, jumping over Tua and becoming the highest paid quarterback based on average annual value. To which, understandably, the responses were all over the place. Because again, yeah, Love looked insanely impressive in his first playoff game versus Dallas, however, not so much against San Francisco the following week. And while I feel like Love's going to be a good quarterback, no, I'm not just saying that because my wife is a Packers fan, but still, I think he's going to be a good quarterback, although is he really worth the top money for only playing 1 full season? I don't know, it may work out, it's just more so, remember how a lot of national media members were so quick to hate on Jalen Hurts' contract at the time when he signed, wondering if he hadn't done enough to prove it. Except like the dude won multiple playoff games and nearly won a Super Bowl. So the fact that he's not even in the top 5 of highest paid quarterbacks is kind of crazy and really just speaks to the prowess of Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie to get deals done early. Anyway, curious to hear y'all's thoughts on Tua's deal as well as Jordan Love's deal, and also how great is it to have Jalen Hurts locked up so early? Oh yeah, and as it comes to Dallas and Dak's negotiating numbers, another record-setting deal didn't make Jerry feel any better.
Son of a bitch!
It's really their loss because they just keep waiting and bidding against themselves. However, the Eagles did make another signing by bringing back Peter DeLuca as the head orthopedic surgeon. In case you don't recall, DeLuca was with the team for nearly 20 years before Philly decided to make a change after the 2018 season. Now, despite how you may feel about that move, Zack Berman shared that Arch Denoto will still remain as the chief medical officer of athletic care, so ultimately no change to the organizational structure. Who knows, maybe DeLuca specializes in toe lacerations since Landon Dickerson was back at camp.
Doctor, what is more serious, a head injury or a foot injury?
A head injury.
Well, you don't have all the information.
Far out. Slip and slide was fun. We threw that back to camp party just to, see everyone. And again, all about creating memories and connecting with your teammates. I'm not going to comment on Landon's injuries. I mean, you guys will get your time. You guys can ask him that and how he did it.
I'm just glad he's back. And while we wish Oren Burks and Brett Toth speedy recoveries, it's nice to see only 2 guys on the injury report, as Jeremiah Trotter Jr. was also a full go after suffering cramps last practice. And look, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but my energy and excitement for the team is just higher after every single practice. Plus, with it being military day for day 3 of Eagles training camp, it's always good to see the military being appreciated. So how about we keep that up with a special military giveaway? Let's do this. Only if you're an active or former military member can you qualify for this giveaway. But if you are one of those, then venture on down to the comments and type in USA, where then I'll randomly select one of you to win tickets to any Eagles game of your choice this season via the randomized spinner on my Tuesday night live stream. So first off, thank you for your service, and also to those of you that are not military members, please don't go type in USA, because immediately, as soon as you win, I'm going to verify by getting info and photos and everything else. Anyway, good luck to y'all, and let's get back to military camp day. As according to Brandon Lee Gouton, the notable starters on first-team defense for 11-on-11s were Zack, Baun, and Devin White at linebacker. And at corner, it was Darius Slay and Kelee Ringo. Granted, the rotations eventually had Isaiah Rodgers swapping out with Kelee Ringo, but it is noteworthy that the linebackers stayed the same. Now, that didn't seem to matter, though, as Jalen Hurts and the entire offense were firing on all cylinders for the 3rd day of camp in a row. despite several media members calling out Fangio's concerted focus on blitzing Jalen early and often at camp. And it's not like it didn't have some effect, with the SP pointing out that the D-line was also definitely getting the better of the O-line, in particular Bryce Huff registering at least a couple nice pressures on QB1. However, Kellen Moore's offense just kept having the answers for it, with AJ Brown making a one-handed catch along a sideline on one rep, although not to be outdone by DeVonta Smith, who made a great leaping grab over the middle on another higher pass from Hurts. Because as we all know, and can probably tell by now, sure, Kellen Moore's offense makes the Eagles better, but how he's going to use the best wide receiver duo in the league might be the most exciting part.
Focusing on this year, I think a really big aspect is just continue to put these guys in various positions. And so it's not a traditional AJ always lines up at, let's say, X, and you can anticipate him always being in this position, each and every play. And so we're continuing to move those guys, put them in position based off what our scheme, where things may go or where we want to put them in high likelihood of touching the football, but also what's the defense presenting us so we can put those guys in advantageous situations.
So you don't have like a slot per se, like it's right? Is that extra?
Yeah, I think by rule you have to have a starting point, and so we do have a starting point, but I think it's not going to be a very strong starting point. I think those guys are going to move throughout the game and throughout each and every week, and so that's the strength of theirs, is that their ability to handle all that, and then that goes into that third receiver having the ability to line up in a few different spots based off where those guys line up.
It's like before camp I was extremely excited and hyped to see the potential that this team had, but now actually seeing it and hearing it for real, it's no wonder that it's confusing, and also Jalen Hurts looks really sharp. With QB1 saying one of the biggest differences with this unit is that they're going to be aggressive, take what they want, and dictate terms. Obviously, a night and day difference from what we saw last season. Because, it was blatantly obvious he was being held back.
You can't keep me cooped up in here, okay? I am a peacock. You gotta let me fly.
For real though, it's like Jalen's actually been given the keys to the offense. And you gotta love the fact that he's taking control while not being afraid to add his input on what he likes and what he doesn't. As Mr. Breed of One continued to find guys all over the field, hooking up with Parris Campbell on a deep connection after the speedster burned Darius Slay down the right sideline for an over-the-shoulder TD. And then also had another drop in the breadbasket to DeVonta Smith, who had gotten a step on Isaiah Rodgers. Seriously, the accuracy and timing and just perfection of the whole thing can't be denied. However, Slim Reaper season is just loading, because after making several insane catches today, plus the one-handed grab on the sideline during day 2, Smitty followed that one up by absolutely mossing Kelee Ringo on a rep, even with Ringo being in pretty good position. To be fair, apparently that play didn't count because Jalen might have gotten sacked, but they let the play keep going on. Either way, it's just exciting to see how they're actually playing, and who isn't excited to see how number 6 plays in this offense? Not surprisingly, Smitty made a couple more grabs on the day as well, while continuing to show off his insane footwork and work ethic. Oh yeah, even after the longest practice session the team's had so far, Skinny Batman went back on the jugs machine to put in the work. You just gotta appreciate this, and hopefully it's not lost on anybody, the fact that one of the best receivers in the game is going back after practice, after an hour 40 with really nothing else to prove, and say, well, let's get on the jugs machine and keep working. Anyway, back to the team drills though. With the secondary getting torched, Martin Frank shared that Fangio elected to bring in a dime package with Quinyon Mitchell, which was a cool look, but once again, didn't really pan out. Of course, I should mention that Q did have some really good reps in one-on-one drills versus AJ, so going back to the idea of Fangio playing rookies, that part wouldn't surprise me. But let me just say to the questions and comments of should we be concerned about the offense torching the defense? No, we should not. Because first off, Jalen was throwing dots, and sometimes it's just kudos to a dude for being unconscious, especially because he had all the answers for the blitz. Yet also, let's remember the pads haven't come on, and the drills are more than likely going to benefit the offense anyway. Plus, like Fangio said previously, it's a lot of first-team offense going up against the 1s, 2s, and 3s. Hear me out though, I don't want to take anything away from Jalen. However, the plan might have been, hey, let's throw blitzes at him and see how he could handle it. Which again, like I mentioned earlier, he had all the answers. Something that, well, isn't that surprising for those of us up on Kellen Moore.
They didn't have an answer to the blitz, and Jalen Hurts was blitzed a ton, and especially by Tampa Bay, we've seen it happen where he has no answer. There's no hot routes. They don't use the middle of the field at all, where it's usually vacant after the teams do blitz. So that's going to change under Kellen Moore, because Jalen Hurts last season had just 6 passing touchdowns to 8 interceptions against the blitz. Whereas if you look back to his days with Dak Prescott in Dallas, both Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott had over, I think, 100 or 101 passer rating against the blitz, where Dak Prescott had 29 passing touchdowns to just 12 interceptions. Justin Herbert in just 11 games or 13 games with Kellen Moore as his offense coordinator, even though he was throwing to a bunch of lower-end receivers after Mike Williams went down and Keenan Allen missed a little bit down the stretch. But he had 10 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions against the blitz. So you could just see from those numbers alone that Kellen Moore is going to have a much better plan against the blitz.
By the way, the other area and breakdown Anthony shared in his recent article talks about AJ Brown's usage as well as across the middle of the field. Because while you see in LA that Justin Herbert and Moore frequently spread the ball around, AJ Brown's graph was a little more skewed and hardly ever going across the middle of the field. Like certainly rarely throwing inside the hashes. So even though I've said this before, it's just refreshing not to recognize this Eagles offense. And the new OC's having a lot of fun with it as well.
Jalen's been really smooth the first couple days. It's been excellent. Just his operation, you can just tell he's in command, he's in control. He's doing an excellent job at the line of scrimmage with the little nuances and little adjustments that he has to his disposal, and so it's been really good. That's the great joy in this process is teaming up with Jalen and really this whole group. It's all of us together, teaming up on this thing, building on everyone's strengths and their experiences, making the adjustments that we need, and continue to find our ways. How are we going to evolve in 2024? It's not necessarily just what Jalen's done in the past, just what maybe I've been exposed to. It's what we're continuing to try and evolve and build on across all league trends.
It's like the perfect balance because here you have Jalen changing the game with his passing, yet we've started seeing if nothing's working out, QB1's not afraid to tuck it and run. As for the second day in a row now, those in attendance pointed out that he looks like his old self with that speed and elusiveness. To which that's also something Kellen wants to continue to use.
It's been an excellent factor that Jalen's been able to utilize, just being an extra guy in the run game. Certainly something we want to continue to build off of. I think there's an element of just finding the games, finding the situations that are right to best suit when we utilize that. But it's a great strength of Jalen. He does an excellent job, and I think he's a really smart runner. I think that's a critical factor to that he's smart with the ball. He's smart with when to make those decisions, and I think he protects himself pretty well.
Let's be honest. Jalen's plus 1,600 odds to win NFL MVP are looking really good if he's back to the two-dimensional player we've seen in the past, especially if he's being smart about when he takes off. However, yes, I'm with you. I don't really care about MVP, and neither does Jalen as long as we get to the Super Bowl. Yet I will say, even though QB1 was playing at a really high level, the O-line wasn't faring as well, with Jalen Carter creating a number of pressures and even coming up with a sack or tag on one play, and Moro Ojomo doing something similar a few plays before JC, who, by the way, has been looking pretty solid so far as someone who the Eagles view could definitely make an impact based on camp and a couple reports. Oh, also another guy who's continued to take advantage of reps is Jalyx Hunt, with the Rook knocking a pass down from Tanner McKee, once again showing his athleticism and anticipation. And shout out to Jimmy Kempski, but the Hunter also got some attaboys from the coaches for his work on special teams drills too. So yeah, it's probably fair to say that we might see Jalyx Hunt on the field more and possibly with a little bit more extended responsibilities. Although when it comes to O-line, Tyler Steen once again got the start at right guard, with Mekhi Becton getting second-team reps at right tackle. Yet something apparently happened with Steen as he ended up leaving practice early with a presumed injury. Now, the natural presumption would have been, let's get Mekhi Becton in there for those reps, except it was actually Darrian Kinnard who ended up getting the first-team action instead. Of course, Andrew DeCecco had him on his pre-camp 53-man roster projection, but as a refresher, Kinnard is a former 5th-round pick in 2022 by the Kansas City Chiefs, who made their 53-man roster but only saw snaps on special teams before not making the roster last season. Yet remember, Brian Baldinger shared he was hearing good things about him just a few weeks ago. So at 6'5", 322, he also presents a lot of size and versatility at that position. However, no one is like the mountain that Becton is, and he's up for playing right guard, while also confirming his heaving the other day wasn't because he's out of shape.
It's going great. Having fun, I don't know what I'm going to be when I come in here, so I just got to know once I step on the field, I got to be ready for whatever.
How much of an adjustment is that, being not really knowing what position you're in?
It's an adjustment, but it's not a hard adjustment. I can do it. It's fun actually because I can look at Lane, see what he's doing, then I go over to Landon, see what he's doing, then I look at Jordan, see what he's doing. So I just learn from everybody all day, every day. So it's a fun thing to do.
The first day you got sick, I guess, a bunch of times. So what was going on there? Just the heat?
Nothing. If you look at my history, I throw up every first practice, and I still go back out there and practice. So I don't even know why was that a story? Huh?
Is that history available somewhere?
I don't know. You can go do your Googles, I guess. I went back out there, so I don't even know why that's a story. It ain't like I threw up and said, oh, no, I'm done. Like, I went back out. So, why was that even a story? But, it is what it is. I threw up. Everybody threw up.
Maybe it was just the nerves of putting on the midnight green, but in all seriousness, though, prayers for Tyler Steen. Hopefully it's nothing serious. We'll keep you posted there. But if it is, I'm kind of curious to see, does Mekhi Becton get those reps, or does it continue to be Darrian Kinnard? But speaking of getting some reps, John Ross had another solid showing in the wide receiver 3 spot, as did Parris Campbell, like I mentioned before. However, it was actually Britton Covey who may have had the most impactful day of camp, with a former UDFA generating separation while grabbing 5 different receptions. As the Philly voice shared that over a 3-play span, Covey easily generated distance between himself and both Avonte Maddox and Tyler Hall. Okay, we'll say it's only day 3, but there's no denying Covey's got to prove he can be more than just a punt returner, especially with the talent on the roster. But he definitely showed that on one rep against Quinyon Mitchell, with Bleeding Green Nation noting a dime from Kenny Pickett on a 30-yard pass along the left sideline, where Covey made a great play on the ball. Of course, for those wondering about the rookie receivers, the general consensus from the media was that Johnny Wilson had a solid day, as he beat Eli Ricks on a nice-looking in route during one-on-ones and later made a back shoulder catch during 11-on-11s from Tanner McKee. Yet unfortunately, that was the opposite for Isaiah Smith, with Jimmy Kempski and Brandon Lee Gowton pointing to another drop from Sub-Zero, while echoing again that his camp isn't off to a good start on offense or on special teams. However, sticking with special teams drills, Ben VanSumeren has won over Jimmy Kempski, saying he consistently stands out, he seems to always have the best reps, and also admitting that while he didn't have him on his pre-camp 53-man roster projections, he now believes BVS will make it. So shout out to Andrew DeCecco to adding more to the cause, since that was his initial dark horse candidate to begin with. But having said that, and yes, we're only 3 days in, but let me know in the comments, has any player done enough to change your mind so far through camp? Also, I'm curious to hear y'all's thoughts about James Bradberry saying he was the one who asked to transition to safety.
It's going smooth so far. I think it's mainly just learning the communication. You definitely got to talk more when you're out there. Make sure you get the call and get the communication out to the linebackers and the corners.
Is that their idea? Did they come to you and ask you if you would do that?
No, honestly, it was my thought. After the season, I went to them. We had a meeting, and I just wanted to try it out.
Why?
Why not? It's pretty much the same question he asked. So after the season, of course, I didn't have the best season. So going into my 9th year, I know they signed Isaiah Rodgers as well. Of course, he wasn't able to participate at the time when I requested that. But I knew eventually he was probably going to end up being on the team. We had a lot of young guys in the room at corner anyways. I feel like we was a little lighter at safety. And I can still play corner. It's not that I'm not going to play corner. Right now, my thought process was to just try to be a valuable piece to the team. And I feel like picking up safety, learning new roles. And I also, at the end of the season last year, I was playing a little bit down. So I was already playing inside a little bit, which is safeties do that. They play down from time to time. I was also playing nickel. So I was like, why not, I know then the draft came, so I kind of figured they was going to draft corners anyways because I didn't play too well. So that was kind of my thought process. And then now I'm learning safety. Those guys are getting a lot more reps. And if the time comes to where I'm still on the team and they want me to play corner, I'm going to be ready.
Okay, forgive me, but I'm not buying that, although I appreciate JB's willingness to be open and answer some questions. Yet if he's saying he actually went to the Eagles and requested to change positions, then I'm having a hard time understanding Howie Roseman's comments from back at the Combine when he would have presumably already spoken with JB.
But when you look at JB and his history and his success as an outside corner, to ask him to do something, which is really a different position, is hard.
And he remains part of your plans?
Yeah, he's under contract, part of our plans.
All right.
I mean, I don't know what else we're trying to do here except, actually doing the exact same thing that he's just referencing there that didn't work. Which it doesn't really matter at this point because, like I've said, I'll be surprised if JB's still on the roster by the end of camp. Especially given JB's response about being asked if he requested a trade.
Well, I'm on the team right now, so I'm taking it day by day because in the NFL, you never know. So, I could be traded, I could not be traded. So, I'm preparing for anything.
Have you requested to be traded, James?
I'm letting Howie handle that. I just approach my job day to day, and right now I'm on the team.
Let me just make sure and say this. I could be dead wrong. That's just my opinion. So y'all let me hear it. And also let me know your thoughts about everything else from camp, the other takeaways, and what else we've seen. By the way, I've seen a couple reports suggesting that we're going to see pads on Tuesday, so we're getting really close. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.